Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, babies in their diapers, welcome to the Tiberius Show with your host, Tiberius Boy.
That's me, Tiberius.
And welcome to the Tiberius Show today, and I'm your host, Tiberius Boy. And as always, we are looking at various jobs and how they affect the world around us. Today's test is going to be very interesting. We're going to talk to a real estate and securities broker. Do you have any idea what a broker does? Well, neither do I. Let's find out. Let me introduce our next guest, the one, the only, the amazing Brad Shepard.
Man, that is the best intro ever. I'm excited to be here, Tiberius. Thanks for having me on.
No problem. Well, thank you for being on the show.
Absolutely. I'm excited to be here.
So, you are listed as a real estate and securities broker. For any of those of my listeners that have no idea, what exactly does that mean? You don't break things, do you?
I try not to. I try to break, and that's a good question. You got me with that one. I try to break a history of bad returns. As a broker, a securities broker, so I don't deal in real estate. I don't sell property to, I'm not like a real estate agent, but I deal in the securities of real estate, primarily the ability to invest in large commercial deals for the average investor out there. So instead of investing in a stock or a mutual fund, you can invest in real estate, and that's what I offer.
Okay. So, how did you get the idea to get into real estate?
Somewhere when I was, 15, 16, 17, I got the idea that I wanted to be rich. I don't know where it came from. That wasn't my family situation, but I knew I wanted to accomplish something big. And as I got further into high school, I got closer to graduating. Somewhere along the way, I read the concept that more millionaires have been made through real estate investing than any other pathway. And as I started reading about it and learning about it, I thought, hey, that's something that I can do. That makes sense to me. I understand the nuts and bolts of real estate, what that entails. And so here I am.
Nice. So when did you know that this was the job for you?
God, it took me a while. In college, I studied finance. I did an internship in commercial real estate. By the time I graduated college, I went a completely different path, though. I spent about 10 or 15 years doing something completely different.
Oh, wow.
Along the way, though, I always had my own handful of rentals. So I started doing, within a handful of months of graduating college, I bought some rental property and I continued to add to it. We moved to Texas in 2011 and I started doing some fix and flips and whatnot. And I realized that's not exactly what I wanted to do. And it took us a few years and I realized, some light bulbs went on, like go back to commercial real estate.
Yeah.
So that was 2017. And that led me to my current role where I started selling off my rentals, investing in commercial deals, and then decided I wanted to help other people do so as well.
Wow. So where do you find the real estate to invest in? Like, do you just start asking people to sell their house or something?
Yeah, so it in the commercial world, it mostly comes through commercial real estate brokers. So again, those are the people who are wheeling and dealing in the properties. They have the relationships with the property owners out there. My role, where I'm the securities broker, I have partnerships with the buyers of those properties. They're looking to go buy this 200 unit, 300 unit apartment complex. They need help raising capital to get that purchase complete. That's where I step in. So my operator partners are the ones who actually bring the property to my firm. My firm helps them secure the financing to get it purchased.
Okay, so what's the best part about working in this industry?
I spend the bulk of my time working with the retail investors. So that means the average individual out there who is a little bit tired out of bad returns in their 401ks, nothing exciting going on in their stock account. They like the idea of owning real estate, but they're not sure how to get into it. My role is to educate them, let them know, hey, you've got this avenue. Did you know that apartment complex right down the road? It's people like you and me who own that. Does that interest you? And so I have the opportunity to spend a lot of time with folks educating them about these opportunities. And for me, that's really, really fun. I enjoy that mentorship teacher type of a role.
Yeah. Well, now here seems like a good time to take a quick commercial break. Let's hear a word from our sponsors.
Over 40 years, Lighthouse Central Florida has provided education, independent life skills, and job training to thousands of Central Floridians who live with blindness or any degree of vision loss. Whether it's picking out clothes in the morning or just moving around your community and serving Orange, Seminole, and Osceola counties, contact Lighthouse Central Florida at 407-898-2483 or visit them online at lighthousecfl.org.
And we are back here talking with Brad Shepard. Brad is a passive commercial real estate expert. So, Brad, we're talking about real estate. What types of real estate are you talking about? Like houses, schools, empties, lands, amusement parks? Love those.
Amusement parks would be fun. I'd love to own one of those one day. Primarily, we're talking about multifamily housing. That means apartment buildings. So a large apartment complex, 200 units, 300 units. It's the type of complex that has a clubhouse and the pool. There's a leasing center. That's about 80% of what we do. The rest of it, we actually work in like self-storage properties. So those places where you fill up your garage, you fill up your basement, and you still have more stuff to store, or you're moving states and you need a place to store your stuff. Those self-storage properties are actually pretty lucrative as well. In the last year, we've gotten into some mobile home park deals, and in some industrial opportunities where these large factories, people were the type of companies where they're building plastics, they're building large tanks. There's opportunities to purchase those buildings and lease them back to those companies who are operating within them, and those provide really consistent, solid returns as well. So we've got a couple of deals in that space now too, which has been fun to diversify into some different arenas. I
see. Now, I saw in your bio that you call this passive real estate. Well, what does that mean?
All right. So if you want to go be a landlord and you want to flip houses, I consider that really active. Even if you have a property manager, because you're going to get phone calls from your property manager saying, hey, the heater's broken. Or if you don't have a property manager, you're getting that phone call directly from your tenant. My hot water's not coming on, or there's a leak over here. Mm-hmm. You've got to jump in and deal with that as the owner. Fixing and flipping houses, obviously very active, right? You're picking out the paint, you're picking out the tile, you have to manage the contractors, etc. When we're talking about these deals, they're passive in the sense that just like when you go on to a Fidelity or a Charles Schwab site and you want to buy a stock, the only thing you do is place the order. You put in your money, you're putting your chips on the table. You don't have any more say in how that company is going to be run from there on out. You don't have any liability. You don't have any management responsibility. The most you can do is your biggest risk exposure is losing your dollars. Same thing here. It's you don't have any. You don't pick out the tile. You don't pick out the carpet. You don't make any decisions around when it's going to get sold or not. And so it's a truly passive investment. You place your money on the table, and then from there on out, you get. We update you on a monthly basis how things are going. You see your distributions come through, but you have no directorial management responsibilities or liability at all.
Now, all the kids I know are definitely not patient. So how long are you talking about before a project is making money?
All right. So that's the type of deals that we like to buy. We're not buying properties that are super stressed out, right? There's no plywood on the windows. They're not war zones. We're buying good properties that are functional and cash flowing today, right? Yeah. And we just know we can go in there and update it, upgrade it. Take out some old Formica countertops and put in some granite, or put in some new stainless steel appliances, or the dog parks, or the Amazon lockers, and people are willing to pay more rent when you do those things. And so we're taking an existing a property that's already generating profit, and so from month one after we own it, we're able to start distributing cash to all of our investors, and it's going to grow over time as we stabilize it, or not even stabilize, just optimize it from there on out. So the biggest payday is going to come when we sell it. That's where we need patience. That's like 3, 5, 7 years. So that part does require patience, but there's going to be monthly payouts along the way.
Okay. Well, are there any rules about who can invest in your projects? Like, can a kid be an investor like me?
Ooh, that'd be fun. We might have to get your dad involved in on that. Ooh. Most of the deals do have some high thresholds. Because these are called private securities, meaning you can't go on to a public market and see, or a public database and see, the financial statements. And so because of that private aspect, the governing bodies, there's one called the SEC, it's the Securities and Exchange Commission, is really strict on who they allow me to talk to, because they want to make sure I'm not bringing in somebody who this is their last bit of money in their bank account, right?
Yeah.
You have to be able to sustain losses and be educated enough to evaluate this on your own, since it's not going to be evaluated by public analysts. And so they do put some rules in place. Most of our deals are available to what's called an accredited investor, meaning they have to meet certain net worth requirements or income requirements. Some of our deals, we're able to get we don't have to, we do them in a setup where we can make them available to non-accredited investors, but they still have to be suitable, meaning this makes sense for you and your situation. I have to get to know you. I have to understand where you're coming from. How many deals have you done in the past? Could you withstand a loss, et cetera, et cetera. So it's always got to be suitable for the investor situation. So no, I can't take money from you yet. It does have to be adults, 18 years old and above, who meet some suitability and possibly some income or net worth requirements.
Okay, so do you have to be rich to invest in commercial real estate? Like, I don't know that many rich people.
Yeah, so it is in a lot of senses, it is a lot about rich people getting richer. When we're talking about accredited investors, those are people who are doing pretty well already. They're business owners, they're doctors, they're dentists, successful entrepreneurs, etc. High income W-2 earners. That's for those ones that require people to be accredited. The ones that don't have that requirement, I wouldn't call those people rich, but still well established.
Middle class.
Yeah, there you go. Well established. Generally, these deals require at least $25,000 or $50,000. So you've got to have some money saved up already, and enough of it. So this isn't. I don't want to take your only $25,000, right? I don't want to take your only $50,000.
Yeah.
It's got to be stuff that you could afford to lose. We've never lost investor money, but we want to look at it from that conservative mindset.
Yeah. So does it take a lot of training to be a securities broker?
Quite a bit. So I had to go through, get a few securities licenses. I have a broker dealer is essentially my boss, who makes sure that everything I do, I'm doing it legally. I'm following all the rules. I'm only talking to qualified people. I have all my forms filled out, and I have to go through and get my licenses. So not my real estate licenses, but my securities licenses, because I'm taking people's money and talking about these investment opportunities. So it is quite a bit of work. There were 3 or 4 tests that I had to pass that took about 2 to 3 months each to study for and to pass off. And then each year I have to go back and do more education and keep my licenses current. So yeah, it does take a bit of work. Certainly doable for you don't have to be
I mean, you're still doing it, right?
Exactly. Sorry. And if I can do it, lots of people can do it. You don't have to have the college degree. You don't have to be a finance person. You can, people come into my type of role from all sorts of walks of life. But you do have to go through that training to get, before you can go out there and start soliciting money from people.
Yeah. So if someone's investing in this commercial real estate, are they able to do anything with it, or are these the property already decided? Like, can we hold a party on it or something?
Great question. So what my passive investors, they, all they're doing is putting that money in. No, they can't show up and have a party on it, right? We don't, we tell them, hey, if you want to do a drive-by and look at it, go walk around the property, of course. But I don't want you to going up and talking to the property managers and saying, hey, well, I think we should do this over here. I think we should plant a bush over here or paint over here this color. That's not their role. Yeah. And so, the investors are investing into a property that already has a set purpose. It's an apartment complex. It's a self-storage property. Any type of property out there. I mean, that the local Arby's, the local the local 7-Eleven has a property owner behind it, and there are investments into those types of deals. So the investors out there, they can choose which types of real estate they're interested in. But it's still going to be a 7-Eleven, right? It's still going to be an Arby's. And just because you're a minority owner in it doesn't mean you can show up and walk around like you own the place.
Yeah. Well, why do you think passive commercial real estate is a good investment for people right now?
Yes, I mean, real estate consistently outperforms the stock market. We've seen that time and time again. It's over the long-term horizon. It's a really it's what I like about it is it's tangible rather than just an ethereal piece of bits and numbers of computer code. I can drive up to this property and put my hands on it. This is what I own. Nobody can run away with this.
Yeah.
Even if the property goes through some tough times, we always have a solid
Yeah,
asset
yeah.
that we can hold on to. It's insured. If it burns down, we've got insurance on it, right? And so that's, to me, is really appealing. And I think our investors find that really appealing.
Okay.
The passive side of it, if you're a busy doctor, if you're a busy business owner, if you're a busy W-2 employee, you don't have time to go out and find these deals. You don't have time to be a landlord. You don't have time to be a fix and flipper. And so this is a great opportunity for people like that to be involved in real estate, get the tax benefits of it, the income from it, without having to deal with the day-to-day management.
Mm-hmm. So what's the best part about being a securities broker?
I get access to great deals. They've been beneficial to me and my family. And I do enjoy the one-on-one conversations with our potential investors and our current investors, educating, informing, having really good relationships with these folks, gaining their trust, because at the end of the day, it's a lot about trust. But yeah, I mean, even just last week, we were at a family reunion in San Diego. We had some car trouble. It forced us to stay a week longer than we had anticipated.
Goodness.
But we had the flexibility to do that. The car stuff was stressful, but because of my role and what I do, I have got flexibility. I don't have to run back to an office, or I can work from anywhere. So being stuck, hanging out at the beach for a couple extra days, going to the zoo, with my kids, whatever. I do enjoy the freedom that it provides.
Nice. So if you're making good money in passive real estate, why do you want other people to do it as well?
Well, that's actually, for me, that's how I am compensated. As a securities broker, I'm compensated by the number of dollars, by the amount of money that I bring into the deal. So that's my motivation, right? I disclose that, so there's people know where I stand. When they place that money with me, I'm helping them earn more money, but I get compensated for bringing those dollars in. And so, the competitive side of it is the operators. There are only so many properties that are going to be sold this month, and there's all these operators that are out there trying to win that bid. They want to buy it, so that's where it's competitive. So when I have an operator partner who is successful securing the contract to purchase that property, now we get to work. We're excited about that. But they'll look at 100 different properties to put an offer in on 12 to win one of them, right? So that's where it's really competitive. For me, on my side, the more people who I can educate about this alternative asset vehicle. Hey, you don't just have to do stocks. You don't just have to do mutual funds. You can do more with your 401k or your IRA. Are you familiar with commercial real estate passive opportunities? The more the merrier, right? I want to educate as many people as possible about this avenue that can really benefit them and their families.
Mm-hmm. So what's the hardest part about doing this type of work?
It is a lot of one-on-one interactions, right? So it's a lot of effort just getting in front of folks. It's really it's easier to gain people's trust and confidence when I can sit down at a lunch with them or a coffee with them to show them what these are about and what we've done in the past and what we're talking about. But at this point, I'm trying to have that same type of trust building exercise with Zoom calls and phone calls, people who just heard about me on a podcast and they want to learn more. And we have to build that trust out with them. And so it's a lot of one-on-one efforts to build those relationships and to build that trust. And so I wouldn't call it difficult, but it does take time. That's the challenge.
Mm-hmm. So how long does it take to find good projects to invest in?
That's my value add. So for me, it's a lot of work. For our operator partners, it's a lot of work. Once they've scoured through hundreds of deals to secure one or two of them, they bring it to my team. We look at it and we do our due diligence on it. We make sure we think it's a good deal. I fly out to check it out. I look at the numbers. I look at the neighborhood, and then I can present it to my investors. So for the investors, my value add is we've already done all that legwork. So all they have to do is sign up for my email distribution list. And then when we've got a deal that we feel is solid enough to present to them, they're going to get that in their inbox. And then I tell them, hey, if this looks interesting to you, raise your hand. I'll send you the full packet. We can jump on a call and talk about it. and then they move forward from there, or not to. They make that choice. So
Yeah.
that's where I can bring them value, is I find those good deals where they don't have to go out there and do that work. On our side, that's the work that we're doing, is to find those needles in a haystack.
Yeah. So what's the craziest thing that's happened while you were doing your passion?
Ooh, the very first commercial real estate deal that I invested in. So I had been a landlord. I had flipped houses. I started learning about this idea of passive investing, and of course, I'm going to go do it first myself, long before I'm going to ask other people for money.
Yeah.
We invested in a property about 2 hours south of Houston, right along the coast. This is my first time investing in one of these deals, so I'm in that passive seat. I've got no control of it, so it took a lot of trust from me. Shortly after we invested in that, Hurricane Harvey came through, wiped out a couple of the buildings on site. After that, we went, to file the operator went to file insurance, went to get permits from the city to rebuild this. We found out that property was zoned completely wrong. I was supposed to be in that deal for a year. Here it is 6 years later, and I still don't have my money back on that one because of, it was operator error. I didn't know enough how to vet an operator. That's the lessons learned that I can share with my investors. But yeah, between a hurricane, bad permits, bad zoning, bad on-site management, that's the worst deal I've invested in passively.
Wow.
And so it was just kind of a comedy of errors. And at this point, I'm trying to find the humor in it. But now I know what to invest in, what to avoid. I know who the good operators are, who are the bad ones.
Wow. So if I wanted to go invest in one of these projects, do I have to have the cash, or are there other ways to pay for it?
Yeah, so these are strictly cash investments. You can't kind of earn your way into them in that sense. And so how I got started was, I had my own business. I had W-2 income. I had my rental properties that once I was done being a landlord, sold those off, and so I had cash in my account to be able to invest in these deals. So you have to have, these kind of deals, you do have to come at it being established well enough to some level, right? If the position you're in currently, we can have those conversations. It's like, all right, where else can we start this person at? It's always a question of, do you have more time or do you have more money? And if you have more time than money, all right, we can go start knocking on doors and find houses to buy that way, and fix and flip and turn those into rentals. That's a good place to start for building up some real estate assets. But these passive deals, that it does require having a bit of a treasure chest already established.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so how does being a broker make the world a better place?
Yeah, it's been really rewarding to see these individuals that I work with. I work with ER doctors and dentists. They're who tell me they're burned out. They're working late hours, they're working a lot of hours, and they don't see the light at the end of the tunnel with their jobs. They're like an ER doctor. They make good money, but it's a W-2 job, and their shifts can change. They're on call all the time. Their sleep patterns are all whacked out, and so the returns that we're able to provide them, there's a pathway for them within a handful of years to be able to replace their W-2 income with their investment income through these real estate deals. And so it's really rewarding to have that type of asset to offer to individuals, for them to then get to choose to live life how they see best fit for them. Some people really like their job, really like their profession. They just want to secure, a nest egg a little bit better for their family. But others want to get out of that job. They want to do something different, and this can be an avenue for people in a short number of years. And I would call that making the world a better place. When you enable people to live life on their terms, provide freedom and flexibility for them and their families, I think we all win from when that's accomplished.
Yeah. So what is the first step every person that wants to get into commercial real estate should do?
So I think the first thing is to ask themselves, what's their goal as far as how involved they want to be. When I first started thinking about commercial real estate, I thought I wanted to be an operator and go out there and chase down deals, get on the property brokers, buyers lists to see these deals, put together a team, bring in the financing. And in that process, I learned about this opportunity to just raise capital and invest passively. And that suited me and my situation, me and my
Yeah.
family with my young kids really, really well. And so you have to determine how active do you want to be. Do you want to be a fix and flipper, that's a full-time job right there in itself,
Yeah.
or do you want to have a little bit more of a passive role? People can make really good money with fourplexes and 10 plexes and 20 plexes as
Yeah.
active owners who are going to be responsible for the day-to-day management of those properties. But
Okay.
if that's not your lifestyle, what you want to do for your day job, you choose the passive route. So that's that first conversation you have with yourself is where do you see your strengths and weaknesses, and where do you want to spend your time. And then from there, I love having conversations with people about that and brainstorming with them. So talking to somebody like me, talking to commercial brokers, talking to the property brokers, talking to other operators, just to learn about the space can be really helpful. And then there's of course becoming agents in the commercial space. Instead of being that real estate agent that buys and sells houses, there are commercial property brokers that buy and sell office buildings and lease out office
Yeah.
buildings and strip malls, and all those things require brokers and agents. And there's agencies that are willing to train and bring people into those positions as well. And so that's one of the cool things about real estate. There's so many avenues.
Mm-hmm. So what is that one project that you invested in that you will never forget?
Um, Between 2012 and 2021, everybody was a genius. Real estate was doing nothing but going up. But we had a couple of deals in Phoenix that did really, really well, really well for us, where we would go into these deals expecting a 3 to 5 year hold. But the way Phoenix was going from 2017 to 20, these properties were doubling in value in 18 to 24 months. It was just silly. Um,
Wow.
we knew it wasn't sustainable, or it wasn't going to last forever. But yeah, I mean, it was the ability to double investors' money in an 18-month period, to call them up and say, hey, we told you 3 years, but we're actually going to sell that property now. We got an unsolicited offer came in. Here's where it's at. This is what everybody stands to earn. So we're going to go ahead and take that offer and sell this property out.
Wow.
That's been, we're not doing that anymore. Phoenix isn't in that same type of
Well,
scenario
yeah.
anymore. But it was we did a good handful of deals there in Phoenix over that 3 to 4 year run, where 18 to 24 months was kind of the typical runway for doubling people's money.
Wow.
So that was a fun run.
Okay, so who can you say was the person that helped drive your passion the most?
It it I would say persons. It's my family, for sure. Um, when when in my 20s, I spent with a small little company doing some fun things. But my wife at that time became ill, with cancer, and passed away after a 3 year battle. And she was 26 and I was 27. And that taught me, right, as a young guy, life is crap happens, and you never know when it's going to happen. And
Yeah.
so that for me is a big driver to, I'm not going to wait until I'm 65 to retire and then and then at that point try to enjoy life. I want to enjoy my family, my wife, my kids right now. What do I need to do to make that happen? Real estate has been a great vehicle for me to accomplish that. And so it's that motivation to control my time, to decide where I'm going to be. Can I go to my kid's game? Can I go pick up my kid from school? Those kinds of things are really, really important to me, because we're not guaranteed tomorrows, right? It's cliche for people to say that, but
Yeah.
it really is important to take advantage of what we have access to, or what we have available to us today, meaning primarily relationships. Just because you never know what's going to happen. So yeah, it's my family.
Mm-hmm. So what advice should you give to my listeners if they wanted to go up and be a broker?
It's a cool path. Yeah, real estate has so many different avenues you can pursue. There's so many different ways you can take it, and so many different ways you can earn really good money from it. I would say, um, would the 12-year-old Brad think I want to be a securities broker when I grow up? Maybe not. But I think having had that hands-on experience of owning properties, managing my own little businesses was really, really helpful. I would say, determine if college is the right path for you, or a more hands-on type of approach to education and learning. There's no one right way, but experience. You've got to have some type of real world experience of your own before you want to go out there and say, here's what I think you should do with your money and your investments. So one way or another, gaining some real world experience in the path that is exciting for you, whether that be right out of the gate in real estate or not, you can always shift along the way. And that's one thing I learned in my life is people make career changes, right? You don't have to lock into one thing. It's never too late to make changes if you feel like something else is calling you at that point in your life.
Mm-hmm. Well, on that note, let's take a quick break to pay some bills. And we are back here with expert real estate and securities broker, Brad Shepard. Now, my dad said that you took a whole year off and traveled all over the globe. Well, where did you go?
Yeah, that's right. My wife and I, we got married in Utah. After a couple of years, we decided we want to go somewhere else. We didn't know where to go, so we just kind of packed up and went. Our first stop was Costa Rica. We spent a few months there, and then we went over to New Zealand and Australia for 3 months each of those. Nice. And then our last stop was Bali. We spent about a month and a half in Bali, which was phenomenal. Scootering around that island, $8 massages, waking up each morning doing yoga and organic smoothies in a rice paddy. Phenomenal. It was just a blast. So yeah, it was about a year. We wanted to go slow so we could get to see more of the country rather than just quick hits. So many other places I want to go see, but I felt like we got a really good sense of those spots. And that was it was a life highlight for sure.
Well, was it hard to leave everything behind to just travel?
I thought no. We sold our house, we sold our cars, we got down to just nitty gritty. It was a little harder for my wife. Wow. And then once we came back, we settled in Austin, Texas, and also we had to buy pots and pans and blenders and silverware and all that stuff again. Yeah, that was like, okay, shoot, maybe we shouldn't have sold everything. We now like the idea of 3 or 4 month long travel stints, but having a home base to come back to. It's nice to have your own bed, have your blender or whatever, nice pots and pans that you can always come back to, rather than selling all off and just travel with an undetermined plan. So that's kind of our new. I like the idea. My 20-year-old self liked the idea of just unending travel. My 40-year-old self says, yeah, keep the home base.
Yeah. So why did you decide to stop traveling? Like, did you run out of money?
We had actually made money was a factor, but we had sold that little business in Utah, so that gave us some flexibility. We actually tried to stay in Australia. We went through the visa application there. My wife is a CPA, and they really like accountants coming over to Australia, and so we were using that angle. And once it didn't really pan out, it was going to take longer. We were going to have to come back to the States and then not resubmit, but continue the application from there. And it was, all right, do we really want to do this? It turns out that Australia is actually really far away from friends and family. So we just got to a point where we realized, we don't really want to be this far away. But it does feel like it's time to settle down and figure out what it is we want to be when we grow up. We just didn't know where that was going to be. We eventually landed in Austin. But yeah, it was really just, it's okay. We miss being part of a community. We miss being tied into, having a home base. And yeah, it was time to grow up and figure out what we wanted to do with the rest of our lives.
Yeah. So what was the biggest mistake you have ever made? And how did it change you as a person?
Ooh, I mean, how many mistakes have I made? I've got so many to choose from. I would say one of the things that I didn't quite realize in leaving Utah, where I had spent 10 years and I grew up there and spent 10 years of my first career path there, was the importance of the network that I had established there. And so then we went and traveled for a year. We settled in Texas. And when we showed up to Texas, I didn't know anybody, right? I had to start that network over from scratch. And that was the first I realized how important that professional network was. And so I think, that's a professional mistake, and not understanding the value of maintaining those relationships. I'm not saying moving was a mistake, but I could have done it in a better path, maintain those relationships throughout that transition, so that when I landed in a new spot, I could, leverage relationships a little bit more, or have done a better job maintaining them. So that just came to mind. Just is thinking about how important the friends, the family, the professional associates are when you're looking to establish yourself, looking to make a career move, what have you. That can be that's a critical component.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, can you tell me that one story? Remember, this is a kid's show. But the one story, well, that you're not supposed to tell me about. Come on, you can tell me.
Hold on, push a little harder on there. What kind of story are you looking for?
Embarrassing.
Like stealing golf balls from the golf course, or embarrassing stories.
Or just something no one knows about you.
Well, this is being recorded though. I can't do that. I'm thinking about my first business ventures were like I was selling chicken eggs, or and then in the summertime I lived pretty close to a golf course, and so we would go to the golf course ponds, jump in there, fill around, with our feet and hands, and come out with garbage bags full of golf balls to sell to the golfers the next day. But after we were done swimming around in the muddy golf ponds, we would jump into the country clubhouse there, climb the fence and jump in to wash off in the pool. No, I haven't told anybody about that part yet. So yeah, we would use the country club pool to to wash all the golf course mud off of us.
Well, is there anything else you think my listeners should know about you?
Man, we covered a lot of ground today. I am very active in my church. I'm a active outdoors person. I like trail running and camping. The love for those things, including the church, including the love of the outdoors and camping, that came from when I was a little kid. My dad taking me out, going out with the Boy Scout troop, going out with the church group. So it was so many of those things I got introduced to as a kid have continued on in my adult life to be interests and hobbies. So right now, as 12-year-olds, 13-year-olds, 14-year-olds, great opportunity to just explore. Yeah, right. Try lots of different things. You don't have to just play soccer or football and basketball. Go try rowing. Go try woodworking. Whatever it is you want to try. Such a great time of life to just go experiment and try new things and see where your interests are.
Mm-hmm. Well, do you have a Facebook or website for my listeners who want to follow you?
Yeah, absolutely. My website is sugarhouseinvestments.com. That's the best place to connect with me and learn more about me and my team, Sugarhouse Investments. And then I hang out a lot on Twitter. That's where I'm active the most. I'm at Brad Shep on Twitter. Most of the time we're there talking about real estate stuff, but of course we go on tangents quite a bit as well. So that's a great place to connect as well.
Well, what is that one question that you think I forgot to ask you?
Wow. What gets me up in the morning? What gets me excited?
What does get you up in the morning?
Perfect. Hey, great question, Tiberius. One is the alarm clock. I wear a watch on my wrist with my alarm, so it wakes me up and then nobody else. And I go out running with a group of guys here in Boise 2 or 3 times a week. I don't want to exaggerate, 2 or 3 times a week. But then after that, what gets me going is really the opportunity to connect with more people. I get really excited about this stuff. I see the impact for myself and my own family. I love sharing it with other people. So yeah, it gets me excited to jump out of the bed in the morning.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you so much, Brad, for being my special guest. Can you stick around for Math Corners?
Absolutely.
Tiberius.com.
You can call him at 407-801-2667.
Wait, you are not Chuck.
My dad can help when people get hurt. He loves to help people.
If you are ever injured at work or in a car accident, you should call my friend Chuck.
You can call him at 407-801-2667.
That website again is cwsmithlaw.com.
Offices, Orlando.
Does it actually have that much W's?
Tiberius' favorite subject, it's Math Corners!
And now it's time for Math Corners. Thank you so much, Brad, for helping me with Math Corners. Well, this week, we're going to some more multi-step word problems. My dad is always good at finding new problems for me to solve. Today, we're going to talk about stamps. You ready?
All right, let's do it. I like stamps.
So, Cassidy started a stamp collection. She collected 179 stamps that had been printed between 1950 and 1980, 42 stamps that had been printed between 1900 and 1949, and 7 stamps that had been printed before 1900. Now, she put all her stamps into albums. She filled the first album with 145 stamps. So, how many stamps did she need to put in the other album?
Hold up. You want me to answer that one?
No, I got you. Well, first, this is a world problem because we do know that kids love to collect stamps. So to solve this issue, you first have to figure out how many stamps Cassidy has in total. Now, I know my dad, he loves to throw a bunch of numbers that you don't need out into the world. So, first off, you have to throw out all the dates. It does not matter when they were printed, just how many stamps that she has. So you have to add the 179 plus the 42, which is 221, and then you add the 7, and you get 228 stamps in total. Now you have to subtract the stamps that she put in the first album. So 228 minus 145 is 3, borrow 1, 8, 83 stamps. So she will put 83 stamps in the second album. So, Brad.
That was pretty good off the top of your head.
So, did you ever collect stamps when you were a kid?
I actually did it for a phase. Maybe for one of my junior high years or so. It definitely wasn't a long-term thing, but I did have a booklet or an album of stamps.
Nice. Now, Brad, my teacher said that I would use math every day. How do you use math in real estate?
Yeah, I mean, we actually do use math quite a bit. It's not calculus, it's not geometry, but a financial calculation. So it's algebra, right? It's I would say algebra is the basic divisions, and then applying some formulas of talking about how much is $1 worth today versus what that same dollar would be worth in 10 years. So yeah, so definitely using math quite a bit in the real estate conversations, but it's basic algebra rather than the more complicated stuff that was above my head when I was in high school.
Well, thank you so much, Brad, for your help with Math Corners.
Absolutely. Good work.
And now it's time for the Heart of a Lion. As you know, we talk about the qualities of living by the Heart of a Lion, which stands for leadership, integrity, obedience, and nobility. So this week, we're going to talk about leadership. For me, I think leadership is the act of loving what is good, having self-control, and being disciplined. Well, the qualities of leadership are providing guidance and direction, organization, and being a positive influence on others. So, I was watching some kids bowling this week, and they were using the bumpers. This way, they would never get a gutter ball. Well, their coach decided to remove the bumpers for the last game. I noticed that everyone took their turns more seriously and was careful to stay in the center. Some kids still got gutters, but they were more self-controlled. Well, the coach had used this exercise to show them that without risk of a gutter, they were wild and not focused. And when they had more risk, they became more disciplined and focused on the task at hand. Now that is what I call leadership. So, Brad, did you see or use leadership at all this week?
Yeah, that's a great coach right there. I mean, leadership is so huge. With a team that I work at Sugarhouse, it's all about, we come together each day to talk about what are our most important goals and tasks. And then I mentioned the group that I go out and run with a couple times a week. And in that group, we rotate who's gonna lead the exercise that day. So that person has to. And this week yesterday it was me. Pick the route, get the head counts, who's gonna show up, count off, make sure we've got everybody, know how many people we are leaving with, and make sure that same number of people return at the end. We part ways with some final thoughts and announcements and a kind of a nod to a higher power. And so that's a great opportunity for us that we rotate through that group to lead out. Each of us taking turns on a very pure-led type of a setup there. So yeah, it's leadership is a consistent theme throughout life. Learning how to do that is being a good solid leader is a critical skill.
Well, of all of the Heart of a Lion virtues, which is the one that you see the most?
For me, the one I focus on and I focus on observing it, is integrity, right? Being true to your beliefs, regardless of where you are, regardless of who you think is watching, is so huge. I think that's really a key to maybe even more than leadership. It's a key to a happy life, is being true to your principles. We all make mistakes, and so we can work on getting better and making amends when we make mistakes. But integrity, being true to your principles, regardless of whether you're with your friends or your parents are watching or you don't think anybody's watching, that's a huge component of a happy, successful life.
Well, we should always try and be lying strong in everything we do, shouldn't we?
Absolutely. 100% agree.
And that's our show, folks. I'm going to thank the one, the only, the amazing Brad Shepard for being on my show. It has been so much fun talking to you today. I think we learned a lot about passive commercial real estate.
It's been a blast, Tiberius. This is the most fun I've had on a podcast. Love talking to you. I love your energy. This is a great time. Thanks for having me.
Well, do you mind giving me your social media and website again?
Absolutely. Sugarhouseinvestments.com is the best place to connect, where you can see our deals, learn more about me and my team. And Twitter, @BradShep, is a great place to connect as well.
Also, you can find me on Facebook and Instagram at The Tiberius Show. And I would like to thank WWPR 1490 AM, KNT 98, Soul Radio 24/7, Easy Way TV, and all the other stations that air my show. Please be sure to visit The Tiberius Show on YouTube and hit that subscribe button. Brad, have you subscribed yet?
Absolutely. Count me in.
Sweet. Oh, and leave a comment if you want to get into real estate. Also, be sure to do us next week on The Tiberius Show with your host, Tiberius Boy.